should obtain advice from your doctor or medical professional before participating in any activities offered by Chronically Awesome. Never rely on our content in place of seeking professional medical advice. By using this video, you agree that you are voluntarily using or acting upon our content. You also agree that, save where Chronically Awesome is at fault, your use of or acting upon the content is at your own risk, including, but not limited to, all risk to yourself of harm, injury or illness, and in particular any harm, injury or illness resulting from overexertion or exacerbation of any medical conditions caused by the use of the content. Always remember that, if you experience pain while using or acting upon our content, stop and consult your doctor or medical professional. Always warm up before a class and warm down after. You do not need to complete an entire class. You can always start with a short section and build up to completing a full class over time. Pace yourself and listen to your body. Most of all, have fun. Exercise should be empowering and make you feel good. If it's not fun, try a different style of class until you find something you enjoy.
Hello, well done for making it onto your mat. So today we're going to get a little bit more into our hip region, but also more importantly focus on where our body is in space. So it's called proprioception. And when we're having some off days, maybe feeling a little wobbly, or just in general maybe have struggled with some illness, we can get a little bit lost with where actually our body is within space and feel a little bit untrusting of it. So today we're going to work on just really feeling through that, and I'll give you some pointer cues as we go. So we're going to start in our breath, and you can start in whatever position feels right for you. I'm going to choose a kneeling position for today. But if kneeling doesn't feel correct for you, then you can do seated, or you can even lie down. So just take a moment to find yourself into that position of comfort, a position of choice. And take a nice, slow, deep breath in. And as you exhale, sigh out through the mouth, maybe making even a subtle whooshing noise. Do this twice more. A slow inhale if you can through the nose, feeling the belly draw out, becoming aware of the breath dropping down into the lower part of the lungs. And then a slow whooshing noise as you release the breath. Once more like that. And then we're going to allow the breath to start to flow through our nostrils. Now, if for some reason you can't breathe through your nostrils, then it's fine to breathe through your mouth. And as you follow that inhale and exhale, just observe how it moves through you today. And as you watch that breath flow through you, feel maybe if there are any parts of it that feel a little stuck or stuttery or tight, and see if with gentle encouragement you can allow your body to soften to it, to allow the breath to flow a little smoother. And as the breath flows a little smoother, become aware of your body. Feel your shoulders drop away from your ears, maybe give your neck a little rinse out, a rock from side to side, a head roll one way or the other as you become aware of any subtle or quite strong tensions that might sit there, continuing with the breath as you do this. Feel the weight dropping down into your pelvis. your bum release a little, squidge out a little as you allow yourself to fully land on your mat. And then take a moment as you breathe to notice all of the parts of you right now that are resting down onto your mat. The feet, the legs, whatever it is, the back, if you're laying down, just become aware of all those points of connection. And as you become aware of them, notice, is there more weight in one side than the other? Is it easier to become aware of one leg or one arm more than the other? There's no right or wrong here, there's no judgment here, it's just noticing our body's natural habits. Noticing where those pathways are maybe a little clearer, a feel through one side of the body than the other. And then just take a moment to see if you can even out that feeling. Noticing if you can get a little bit more awareness down the side that may not feel so obvious to you. Keeping the breath slow and deep, eyes still closed. And once you feel yourself start to balance out a little, that awareness come a little evenly through your body, just take a moment to sit with that. And this is the start of us becoming aware of our body in space. Taking time to drop out of the mind and all the monkey brain thoughts and into the body. Starting to truly notice how we interact with our surroundings. With the simplest being our breath and the floor beneath us. How do we sit, stand, lay on that floor? How do we place pressure down into it? How do we interact? And in the next couple of breaths, for those of you that are laying down, if you just want to gently, very gently draw yourself up to a seated position. And for those that are cross-legged, and once you're in that seated position, we're going to make our way into our hands and knees. So you might roll over the tops of your knees, or you might have to have a little shuffle. And if your knees being on the mat feels a bit grouchy, you can always pop a pillow underneath, a blanket underneath, just to help support. And just like you've just done in that breathwork exercise where you've come into your body and you recognised all those places that connect with the floor, with the mat, just do the same here. So staying in that breath, keeping it slow, even and deep. Lift one hand up, lift the other hand up, spread the hands, spread the fingers wide. If it feels good to do it with your eyes closed, that can help us really sense the subtle details. Notice how maybe you put more pressure into your little finger or your thumb, or just become aware of all those little nuances that the body has, and see if you can even out that pressure, that weight, not only in the wrist, but you start to feel it into your finger pads too, and evenness across all the fingers. And then how does that energy travel up through your arms, into your shoulders? Is there a slight imbalance with weight and evenness? Can you find a neutral that feels quite level to you at this moment in time? Don't get too cut up into the, is it definitely even? Just bring that awareness there. And then the awareness into the knees and how they feel rested on the floor. Again, is there an evenness of weight, or do you naturally sit into one leg more than the other? What does it feel like if you were to balance that out? And the same with the feet. Maybe I like to lift my feet up and give my ankles a little roll out by drawing some circles with my toes. Just gets rid of any built up tightnesses in those joints. Staying with your breath all of the time. And then as you rest those feet down and you become aware, feel like you're just putting a little bit of energy through. So instead of just kind of collapsing into the body, start to imagine you're trying to push with the knees, the feet and the hands, push the floor away from you a little bit. So you start to feel like an activation draw through your body, keeping the breath deep and slow all of the time. So you start to feel your body slightly energize. And then from here, as you next exhale, draw your chin to your chest and really tuck your tailbone underneath you for what we know as an angry cat position as we arch the spine. But at the same time, again, feeling like you're pushing the floor away from you a little, from the knees, the feet and the hands. Looking back towards your navel and really releasing every last bit of exhale here, drawing that navel up towards your spine as you go. As you next inhale gently and very slowly lower the belly down, but keep that energy, keep pushing the floor away from you so we're not collapsing. The belly drops down, the tailbone lifts, and we lift the head up. Eyes can stay closed as we take a really deep inhale here. Keep drawing the floor away from us though, so we feel that energy through us. It's an active posture, not a passive one. And then as you exhale, gently again rolling, again slowly, smoothly, tailbone tucks underneath, spine lifts up, shoulder blades slightly apart, chin draws into the chest, and we fully rinse out the breath. On your next inhale, we're going to let the right leg lift up. Keeping the knee bent, pointing the toes, look up towards the sky as you go, belly down, and lifting that right leg up. So you take the toes to point towards the ceiling or the sky. And feel again, now pause here and breathe. Become aware once more. Have you started to kind of lean over to the left side? What happens if you try to keep your weight still even so your hips are parallel with the floor? Real awareness of the body. So we're not kicking that right hip up. We're keeping it level with the left. Even weight stays in both hands. So it might take a moment just to play by shifting from side to side until you feel that energy come through. Feel that right buttock really kick in. Neck long, so you feel the energy through the spine. And each time you exhale, draw the navel in a little more, so you really feel your core switch on a little bit further. Couple more breaths here. And if you can, easing that knee up a little higher to increase the intensity, but avoiding lifting that right hip up as you go. So it's a slightly different feeling. We're becoming aware of how the body moves in space, where it wants to go. And this might be not where it wants to go. This might feel amazing with the hip in the air, and this might feel a bit more intense in a different kind of way. But that's what I want from you today. I want you to become aware of where your escape routes are, of habits that we have. And then as we next exhale, lower the knee down and return the balance back over all four legs. All four legs? We're not a horse. All 4 points of contact. Breathe. Notice what that's shifted through. Take a moment, shut your eyes, and notice how the body may feel slightly different for a moment. Just really aware of that. And then as you next inhale, so I've just done a little adjustment. I've just gone to shift my right knee. Don't. So I'm telling myself off here. Keeping all 4 pads of contact where they are. Make sure we lead from that evenness. And then as you inhale, gently bend the left toe towards the sky and lift that left leg up. Notice again, do you want to kick that left hip high and take that weight over to the right side of the body? See if you can keep the hips parallel with the floor. Notice the weight in the wrists. Do you suddenly start to kick over to the left? Do you kick over to the right? Can you keep that weight even? Keep the breath deep. Trying to keep the toes pointing up towards the sky. Become aware of the whole body. Breathe here. Notice if the breath changes at all. And working with that breath, try to find that neutral breathing that we had at the start. And really finding that evenness of body and space. If you can get away with it, gently lift the foot a little higher. But if that causes you to kind of kick out through the hips, then return it back to that neutral. Don't go too far. Keep with the breath. And then as you next exhale, slowly lower the knee back down. Place it underneath the hip. And find that neutral. Notice any changes. Have you kind of collapsed into the shoulders? What happens if you push the ground away from you once more and you feel that body activate a little further? One more breath here. Become aware of it. And then as you next inhale, tuck your toes under. Now, that's 15 minutes, believe it or not. How quickly does that go? So if that has kind of like sorted you out for a bit and you want to take a rest there, then head back to a child's pose by dropping your hips back towards your heels. Dropping your forehead between your arms and take a breath. And I'd say take about 10 breaths there before you exit and leave your practice. For those that are continuing with me for today, I'm going to gently draw those hips back, the same as the others, into that child's pose. But again, the child's pose we might normally do would be quite a passive one where we'd sink, and I want to keep active. So keep really drawing the energy into the fingers, into the hands, not letting them slide away. So imagine they're kind of like stuck on the floor. Tuck your toes under so you draw your hips back towards your heels and you can feel those soles of the feet energize. And as you lower down, do it slowly with awareness of the body and really drawing the belly towards the thighs. Let the head drop between the shoulders. And you might suddenly find that this affects the ego a little bit, because suddenly you can't necessarily touch the head towards the floor like you would normally. And you can't get the chest down like you would normally, and it feels all a little bit different. So just let that kind of slide through you for a moment and explore what this slightly more active child's pose gives you. What happens if you draw that tailbone back even further towards the wall? What happens if you draw your shoulders and wrap them round behind your back a little further so you feel like the wings of your body start to activate a little more, your side body starts to flare a little? And what happens to the breath? And then as you next inhale, we're going to gently draw ourselves back up into that hands and knees. Feel like you're pushing the ground away from you as you do so. Draw the navel in as you really actively draw yourself to hands and knees. And as you exhale, tuck the tailbone underneath, chin to chest, and really rinse out the spine. Beautiful. As you inhale, gently draw yourself back to neutral. This time making sure that the head and neck are in neutral with the body. So you might have been kind of letting it drop and hang out. What happens if you feel like you're pulling your chin a little bit more in towards your throat, so you feel the back of the neck activate this time? Keep pushing the ground away from you, breathe into that space. Again, slightly more active posture, becoming aware of what our neck wants to do. So with all the technology and everything we do in life, we tend to love to stick our chin out in front of us a little bit, and we kind of lose the energy through the back of the spine and through the shoulders, and that causes a lot of tension. So what happens if you draw that chin in? Really think about getting a level in-line balance through the spine. And then imagine your tailbone. Imagine someone's got a little bit of a golden thread on the end of your tailbone and is pulling it towards the wall. And then imagine someone else has got a little bit of golden thread on the top of your head, what we call the crown of our head in yoga, and is it pulling it towards the wall in front of you? And just feel your spine extend a little here. Keeping the breath slow. It's a subtle feeling rather than a physical kind of adjustment. It's just an awareness of not collapsing into all of the different vertebrae. Keeping the breath deep. And then as you next inhale, with the toes tucked underneath you, we're going to lift ourselves up into downward facing dog. So you're going to root into the balls of your feet and gently draw the knees up off the floor. And then as you exhale, take the energy into the heels and let your chest come towards the floor as your belly comes towards your thighs. If you're open enough, you might straighten your legs. If it feels too much to straighten your legs right now, keep your knees bent. But the energy still travels into the heels, even with the knees bent. And like that golden thread that was on your tailbone a moment ago, it's now pulling towards the wall still. So you're still feeling a lengthening through the spine, and you might then suddenly feel like your shoulders activate here, that there's space being created in the side body. Breathe here. Really super active. And then as you inhale, you're going to roll back forwards. And then as you exhale, you're going to place your knees back down, hands and knees. We're going to just move through this. Inhale, lift the knees up. Exhale, hips back towards the wall, downward facing dog. Active through the body. Inhale, roll forwards back into kind of a hovered hands and knees. Exhale, knees tap the floor but don't quite fully drop down. Inhale, lift back up. Hips back, weight into heels. Inhale, roll forwards. Back into that hovered hands and knees. Exhale, knees tap the floor. Inhale, draw it all the way back. This time we stay in downward facing dog. Exhale into down dog. Take a moment. And again, like we did the first time we landed in our hands and knees, become aware of all the points of connection to the floor. So this time it's still the palms of the hands, but it's the feet too. And notice, do you keep your weight into one foot more than the other? And this is also where we might want to open our eyes and just have a look back at your feet. Do you turn your toes out with your heels pointing in a little bit just to make it easier? Do you do that the other way? Have you walked your feet a little wider? So are they wider than your hips? Because that can feel really open and easier to do. What happens if you actually align your feet with your hands? So your hands are in line with your shoulders. They're no wider than your shoulders. Your feet are no wider than your hips. And your feet are parallel to one another. So there's no kind of inward or outward turn. What does that feel like within you? And it might feel a bit different. And that's fine. It's all about awareness of our body and our tricks and our little kind of things that we do to ourselves. And you might still have your knees bent. And that's also fine. But keep thinking weight into heels. Keep thinking hips up and back. So you're elongating through the spine and you're making space in those shoulders. 2 more breaths here. It's going to feel super like it starts to really charge up the body now. And that's fine. Keep going with it. And then as you exhale, we're going to roll forward and come to a plank position. And your plank position should land in line without you having to make a shuffle. Now, if you had to make a shuffle, then your down dog was a little short. So that's something to notice for yourself. And then in that plank position, come back to that neck positioning from the hands and knees. Notice you kind of like letting the chin drop out. Can you draw the chin into towards your throat so you really activate? Can you push the ground away from you? Breathe. And then with the legs straight, really think about drawing your heels towards the wall behind you. So still like in down dog, the energy is still into our heels. And from there, those golden threads, crown of the head, tailbone, imagine your spine being kind of really drawn away so you make space. And then you'll probably feel your core start to kick in. You keep the breath slow. Keep it energized. And then as you inhale, gently draw yourself back. Weight into the heels. Find your downward facing dog. Beautiful. Check out that downward dog. Notice, have you shifted at all? Have you put more weight into your right foot than the left? What about your hands? Can you find that evenness? Once more, proprioception. And then as you next exhale, we're going to hug the left knee into the chest. We're going to float it through and place it between the hands at the front of the mat. So on your exhale, draw the left knee into the chest. Place it between the hands. You might have to shift that left hand for a moment before it comes back down. And just checking out, you might have had to shuffle to get there, and that's absolutely fine. It takes a little bit of practice. Breathe here. Try not to avoid dropping that back knee too quickly. Draw the heel away. And feel that space being created along the front of that right thigh and the underneath of that left thigh. Keep the breath deep. Keep pushing the floor away from those hands. And then as you exhale, lower the back knee down. And then untuck the back toes and lay the foot down onto the floor. And again, become aware. New position, new points of contact, different ways of feeling the floor. Notice how the weight slightly got out of your hands now and is more in your feet and your knees. Close your eyes and become aware of that front foot to start with. Are you carrying all your weight into your heel? Are your toes kind of like mobile, not really gripping into the ground? And just like you did with your hands at the start, push the ball of the foot in and then lift the toes up and then actively push the toe pads into the floor. How does that feel different? So for me, that's just given me more space to open into my hips a little more. Notice how then that knee above the ankle, does it want to roll out or roll in, and can you keep that as in line as possible so the balance is still over the sole of the foot? And then take your awareness all the way through the body and down into that back knee and that back foot. And how does that align? So I know I kick my heel out and kind of go a little weird funky toes with my back foot, so I'm just going to realign myself to get it as straight as possible. And then can I release my hands for a moment? So your wrists might be really feeling it from that activity. So for a moment, just walk your hands forward slightly and come to your finger pads and just let your wrists have a brief release. I like to roll into my fingers and roll back out, just shake it out. Keeping that awareness into our hips all of the time. Sinking into our hips a little further as we do so. One more breath here. And then as you inhale, gently walk the hands back towards you. And we're going to tuck those back toes under. And we're going to lift that back knee up so we come back into that. And then we're going to turn that back foot to face the side of the mat. So we're in what we call warrior two leg position. So the back foot's facing the side of the mat, the front foot's facing the front. I'm going to move my left hand and place it to the inside of that left foot. So placing the whole of palm of the hand down. And it runs in line with that left shin. And then as you inhale, let the right arm lift up to the sky and stacking that hand above the right shoulder as you do so. Now take a moment, close your eyes and feel into the soles of those feet again. So as I do so, I'm aware I'm taking all of my weight into my front foot. So I'm going to push that back foot into the floor again. Just like you were doing with your hands earlier, pushing the floor away. You're going to do exactly the same with your feet. And then also this left hand really pushing that away as you reach that right hand up to the sky. So we're active with this. And then visualizing those golden threads, crown of the head pulling away, tailbone pulling away, really creating space in the spine. And a couple of breaths. Now where do you look? You can look at the floor, you can look to the side, or you can look up to that top thumb. Keep those breaths slow. And then as you exhale, we're going to turn to the floor. We're going to place our right hand to the center of the mat. We're going to turn our left foot so it's parallel now with our right foot in a wide leg posture. Our hands can land wherever feels comfortable for a moment. And then just rock into the ball of your feet and then into your heels. Come back to the breath all of the time, making sure that it's slow, even and steady. And then as you exhale next time, gently allow your body to fold a little deeper. As you walk your hands a little more in line with your feet, fingers facing in the same direction as your toes, and hands in line with your shoulders. So not too wide, not too narrow. Really become aware. This is your proprioception, awareness of our body and space. And as you fold a little deeper, you feel your tailbone raise up a little more. A rotation of the internal hips, and let your head start to hang down.
And again, feel that spine lengthen. Your elbows might be bent, that's fine. And you're gradually drawing your crown of your head towards the gap that sits between your hands. Now, I'm not saying you're going to get there. You might feel miles away from it, but that's where the energy is heading. As you do that, I want you to become aware of that chin and neck alignment with the rest of the body. And not to poke the chin out just to get that head to where it needs to be. Try to keep the back as straight as possible. So the alignment is deeply there. You'll probably start to feel it, hips and backs of legs. And notice where you want to kick into maybe one part of the foot more than the other, and just see if you can come back to that balance, that awareness. Keep pushing the floor away with your feet. And keep drawing that crown of the head down, breathing as you go. One more full breath there. And then as you inhale, gently keep the hands where they are, extend the arms and bring the body parallel with the floor. Breathe here for a couple of breaths. Feel the crown of the head reaching away from you, tailbone reaching backwards. Weight evenly, hands and feet. So we really feel that activity. And then as you next inhale, we're going to turn that right foot to face the back of the mat now, at the same time as bending that right knee. Right hand comes to the inside of that right leg. Right arm is parallel with the right shin. And keep rooting that left foot down as you feel that energy. Notice you want to kind of roll into the inside of the foot. Can you keep the weight even? And then reach the left arm up to the sky as you reach the fingers high. Again, you can look down to the floor, to the side or up, pushing into both feet. Be aware of where you are in that space. Feel the left fingers reaching up towards the sky as you do so. Feel the spine extending. Feel that activation as you push into the floor. And then as you exhale, we're going to turn to face the back of the mat. Place our hands either side of our right foot even, and lift that left foot so it's back on the ball of the feet. Notice how that right foot's connected with the floor. Spread the toes, push the toe pads in. Feel that activity, and then let the hips sink a little lower as you push that back heel away from you. Take a couple of breaths here as you feel the opening of the body. And then gently lower the back knee down and tuck the back toes. And again, notice how you may collapse into the ankle and keeping the alignment there. Real deep awareness of the body. 2 more breaths as maybe you take a little weight out of your hands, give the wrists a little moment. Feel those hips extending and opening. And then as you inhale, gently tuck the back toes under. And we're going to do a funky little twist here. We're going to come into a, half squat. So we're going to lift that back knee up. And you're going to slightly rotate that front foot so it's at an angle now and roll into that back heel. So we've ended up into a half squat where our right knee is bent, we're facing the side of our mat, and our left leg is straight. Here, your bum might be quite high in the air, that's fine. Feel the weight dropping down into it to where your body allows. Notice again, are you rolling into that inside of that right foot? Can you feel the weight into the outside of it? Feel all 4 corners of the feet. Really activate this left toe so it's pointing up to the sky. It's quite easy to let our legs flop. So you really feel that extension through. Now you may have to keep your weight into your hands here just for a little extra support. If you do so with awareness. And for some of you, you might be able to lift those hands up and bring it to a prayer position. Now the prayer position does 2 things. It gives us a moment to contemplate, think of some gratitude, but it also brings all of the energy whoosh to the centre. So an active prayer position is just like when you're pushing into the floor, we push into our palms of our hands. Feel the finger pads connecting, feel the palms connecting, and feel the centre of your body really drawing together. And then come again to those golden threads, crown of the head, tailbone, really drawing that spine long. Feeling that space. Breathing deep.
And then as you inhale, you can either do it with your hands still connected or use the floor as a little bit of a balance. You're going to push into that right foot, lift up through the centre. And as you exhale, you're going to bend into that left foot and come to a half squat on the other side. So again, you can use the floor for a little bit of a push. Start with noticing that left foot and how it connects to the floor. Notice the right toes and how they point up to the sky. Notice the hips. I'm starting to notice even my right shoulder here, so become aware of all those little points of connection. Where can you find a little bit more space? Draw the tailbone down, crown of the head up, really breathing into it. And then as we exhale, this time we're going to sit our bottom down. So you're going to end up with that left leg bent, right leg straight. Only for a brief moment. We're going to bring that left leg round to join our right leg. So you're probably facing away from me now on the back of the mat, that's fine. Have yourself a little bum shuffle. Take a moment, feel both seat bones resting on the floor. Really extend the legs and imagine you're trying to push your soles of your feet into the wall in front of you. So you're really activating your legs once more. By doing so, you might feel like you're pushing the calves into the floor and your heels gently raise up off the floor. That's fine, that's good. Squeeze the knees together, squeeze the ankles together. So we're really activating those legs, keep pushing those soles of the feet away, especially the heels. And then gently allow the crown of the head to sit a little taller. Draw the navel in, really feel length through the body. And as you inhale, gently lift the hands up towards the sky so you really find that L shape. As you exhale, take a fold forwards. You might not get very far. If you're tight through the back or have little back issues like I have at the moment, bend the knees a little. Otherwise, keep the legs straight and gently fold yourself forwards. Find where your body reaches its level, its edge. And at that point, breathe into that space. So I'm moving in and out of it because my back is slightly poorly at the moment. So my knees have got to be a little bit more bent than maybe my ego would allow, but that's fine. And then once you find your edge, cup your hands over the tops of your feet. And you can use your feet to just rinse out those shoulders by pushing one foot away from you and then the other. Drop your head. I'm going to start to really slow the exhales down now. Spend a little time in each shoulder as you allow any tightnesses that have built up from all of that weight into our arms to just rinse out. Let the neck go. And start to focus now not on activity but passive. So can you start to soften the body a little further? Becoming aware of the small areas that are still holding a bit of tension. Feeling the exhales release. And then finding a forward fold that feels soft enough that you can really let your body relax into. And we're going to stay here for about 10 breaths. And this is our finishing posture for the day. So the breaths might be a little bit sighing. And I want you to let go of the need to pull or force and really think about a rag doll. No muscles, no force, no pressure, just purely allowing gravity to do its work. As each exhale finds another part of you that can soften, so we're the exact opposite to how maybe we've been in some other postures today. And we really let all of those muscles go. Releasing out any tension that's being held there. Dropping heavier and heavier into this forward fold with every exhale, with the eyes closed, as we let the body soften. As we let everything release. And we let the ground, the mat, whatever we're sitting on, support us as we
Really allow ourselves to drop down. And then slowly as you next inhale, you've been down there a little while, lots of stuff's shifted now within you, so very gently unravel yourself. Eyes can stay closed, head bowed until the last moment. Draw your knees into your chest or whatever feels comfortable. Let your shoulders drop away from your ears, and then very slowly let your eyes open. Feel the soles of the feet on the mat, feel the seat bones and how suddenly your awareness of them is so much stronger. Feel your breath. And enjoy this moment of being really in your body. And it's here that you may want to set any intentions for the rest of your day or have a thought of gratitude. As you just plant any of those seeds inside of you. Take a full inhale. And just like we did at the start, let the breath sigh out on the exhale. Thank you so much for joining me today. Well done. Take this off your mat and enjoy your day.